Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sydney Bushnell here, aka Numbers. Welcome to Site Club. I've got a couple of guests that I wanted to introduce to you, and their names are Adam and James, and they talk about gold. And my last episode, actually, I did a little mini clip. I was just out in Regent Park at the weekend, and I talked about gold. So I thought that was appropriate to kind of lead us into where we are today. And just for new viewers and regular viewers, people know me as Tom Numbers, and they know me because I work out the numerical code on things. And A is the first letter of the alphabet, hence it equals 1. B's 2, C's 3, all the way through to Z26 or Z26. And some interesting numbers on gold. I'll just pop in before we start off. Is gold comes to 38, which comes to Africa, comes to Jamaica, comes to fire. 138 comes to revaluation, comes to Donald Trump, comes to a few things. But anyway, gold plus silver. We won't talk about silver per se, but it's it's kind of synonymous. That's 85. Awakening, storm. Add them together comes to 1, 2, 3. So ABC 1, 2, 3, easy as 1, 2, 3. So I just wanted to put that out as a little intro, and hand over to Adam and James. So maybe you could tell us, how it all started for you guys at Goldbusters.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, Tom, and appreciate your time, and good to be in front of your audience. Hopefully, this is going to be interesting, entertaining, maybe useful to some degree.
Yeah,
and I guess before we go into talking about gold and silver, it'd be worth just I was giving you a bit of a background to how we got to this point where just normal people, and we've got a fairly normal story, no kind of crazy things happening, but it really paints a picture of how we got to this point, and everything that we talk about, we do for ourselves. So we're not just saying, hey, gold and silver, they're a nice idea. We're saying, look, this is our journey. This is how we found gold and silver for ourselves. This is what we personally do. And more importantly, why we do those things. The story kind of started with James. So I'll let him start. Myself and James are actually related somehow. James is my wife's cousin. So not sure what that makes us in relation, but there's some connection.
Takes you back to Noah. Takes you back to Noah in the flood. Noah's actually 38 gold, so it's quite fun that you brought that one up.
So James, if you just want to kick off and how you got started on your journey, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, where do we start? Well, I think we'll start with ex-military. I spent 22 years in the army, British Army, and while I was in the British Army, I
did you say 22 years?
22 years. I did my full stint. Yeah,
22 is 22 is the atomic number. Well, sorry, the atomic symbol for gold, AU. So A is 1, U is 21, and there's 22.
Yeah.
Comes to Deal, comes to Lee. So anyway, it's 22 years. There you go, James.
Think of that. Yeah. Right, yeah.
There you go.
Flipping it. 22 years in the army. And while I was in the army, I got myself educated outside of the army. I started learning about finance and the banking system and how it really works, and how it works against us,
Right.
So I spent a lot of money I paid some very wealthy people to teach me about finance and how it all works, etc. And then I started helping members of the forces. I started paying off people's debts for them even, and showing them the error of their ways. But a long story short, I came to realize that giving people money doesn't work either. Just giving people money doesn't work. You need to educate them. They had no idea how money really worked, the whole system, etc. So that's where it started for me personally. And when I was still in the army, I left in 2013, November 2013. So, but I met with the finances in general. We used to put financial plans together for people, help people get out of the debt a lot quicker, like mortgages, showing them how to pay them differently to get rid of them quicker and things like this. Lots of really good things. We used to help people with debt stacking, things like that. But then we came to gold. Then we came across gold. We saw the value in precious metals. on this journey. And obviously I met Adam at a family do, and we hit it off, and that's when we started our journey together. How long back was it, Adam? Was it 10 years? It must be a long time, a while back now.
Yeah, probably longer than that.
It must be a while back now. Yeah, it's before I left the army, wasn't it? Anyway, that I met you and
yes.
etc. But basically, I'd done quite well for myself because from what I'd learned over the years, Tom, from just thinking outside the box and just learning the system and learning how to use a system against the system, if you know what I mean, for yourself to help you and your family, not the system. So I started helping other people. I had a passion right from day one. I've always enjoyed it, just helping people. Paying off the debt first didn't work. Yes, I helped them out short term, but they were all back in debt the following week. So then we started educating them instead. Then we came across metals. This is a long story cut short, because I heavily invest in property and things like that. That's where I started out, and then onto precious metals. But precious metals, we just found that it's such an easy way of helping people to take back control, because that's what it's all about. That's the number one reason we do this, is to take back control of our own personal finances. Because when it's in a bank, our money's not owned by us, is it? You get nothing for it. It's not owned by us. It's legally controlled by the banks. They can do what they want with it. They've got bail-in laws, etc., etc. You get hammered by inflation. So basically, we've just started helping people to take their money out of the banking system, take back control of it, and save in precious metals rather than paper currency. So we just thought that's one of the easiest things you can do to help somebody. It's not rocket science, is it, Adam, at all? There's nothing complicated about it. You're just saving metals rather than saving in paper currency. And that's a big tick in the box, because your metals are outside of the system. So guess what? You all of a sudden, you own your money. You own it now. You can do what you want with it. You control it. When it's in a bank, you don't. And Adam could tell you some stories, and myself could tell you some stories that our customers are telling us right now about when they're trying to take money out of the bank and buy metals. The banks are trying to stop them. They're trying to stop them. We're hearing some white stories. So that just tells you who's in control of your money,
Yeah.
So that's a really long story short, though. But that's why I started out in the army, helping people. But then we started helping everyone, not just members of the forces. We came across precious metals on our journey. It took us 18 months to find the company that we work with mainly. We work with a few companies now, but the main one, we've been working with them, what is it, 6 years now, Adam? We've been partnered with them?
Yeah, longer than that,
years,
yeah.
6 years, I don't know. Yeah. Time flies, we forget, but we've really, we've got a really strong bond now, a strong partnership. They've always done the right thing from day one. They're just great. They're really good companies. So we've been working with them to help families to be in a better place financially. That is the long and short of it, to be in a better place financially.
I think through all of this, there's been a common kind of, I guess, a two-step process unconsciously. And that has been that when James started educating himself, he then wanted to pass that information on and to educate other people. And it might sound, a little bit, a bit warm and fuzzy, but there's no better feeling than, explaining something to someone, how the financial system works that we all operate in every single day. And you can show them something that they've been in and around and using. And all of a sudden there's that light bulb moment and they go, gosh, I never realized that. Just things like James hinted at, how you pay your mortgage off. Most people will pay it off monthly because, well, is there another option? Well, yeah, there is. And when you understand the mechanics, fairly simply, actually, you can get out of debt far quicker and put less in the bank's pocket and more in your pocket. And it actually doesn't cost you anymore. It's just how you structure it. So it's little key things like this that we've learned for ourselves. And then we've gone, this is too big to keep to ourselves. Yes, we've benefited from it. Let's get that message out there and let's help people. And the reason we like precious metals so much is we realize that paper money does not hold its value. And we encourage people, please do your own research on this. Don't trust us. Do your research, find it out for yourself. You'll see that paper currency goes to zero. There's been about 750 paper currencies in circulation throughout time. And other than the ones that are around today, they've all gone to zero or have been wiped out. and they're designed to do that. They're designed to lose value. They're a tool of governments and countries that they can print and do all these different things. Well, that's fine for them, but it's not good for us when we're storing our wealth, our hard-earned money that you trade your time and your life for it, and it's just disappearing. The value is just dropping. Whereas when you look at precious metals, and this is what we found for ourselves, is they're a much better store of value than paper money. And that's what we started doing for ourselves first and foremost. And then we had other people saying to us, well, that sounds interesting. First of all, why are you doing that? And we're explaining that part of it. And then they started saying, well, can you help me to do the same? And that's how our journey started. And when you realize that over time, and look, none of this is financial advice. We don't want to advise people. We want to educate them. We want to give you the education that the school system didn't give you. We think you should have been given. And you'll see that paper money goes down in value over time, generally speaking, whereas gold generally goes up over time. So here's the 10-second elevator pitch. Tom, are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Paper goes down, gold goes up. Which one do you want?
There you go. Yeah,
it's a simple.
Yeah,
it's so simple, and that's why we like precious metals so much, because I say everyone, but most people understand that. They understand that their dollars, euros, yens, whatever their currency is, in 5-10 years' time will buy them less then than it does today. Even if you don't understand the mechanics behind it, intuitively you kind of have an idea that it's going down in value.
People understand that.
Yeah, most people would say that they understand that gold holds its value and over the long term is going to go up. So it's just putting those bits into action, because people realize it anyway. And this is how we set off on this journey of educating ourselves, educating other people, and then saying, look, it's not just education for education's sake. Here's what you can do with it to protect yourself and your family from losing value and losing control over what you work so flipping hard for.
And as you can probably tell, Tom, but by looking at us, we're not salesmen. We're not salesmen. And we're not here to sell anybody anything. We're just here to share information with people, and they can take it or leave it. It really is that simple. But and we're not financial advisors. And like Adam just touched on then, we don't believe in advice. We only believe in education and sharing information with people. We believe in empowering people with the information, because when people get this information and they do this for themselves, we've had some really positive emails in the past, positive contact with people saying how good they feel taking back that power, taking back control of their own finances just by buying precious metals and getting it out of the system. The feeling that they've got from that. So just
what kind of information have you got for them? James, you're talking about sharing your information and empowering them. I mean, we'll have some links in the description below, but what kind of things, things can people look forward to learning from you guys?
Quite a few different things. I mean, first of all, looking at how banks work and how paper money doesn't hold its value, because there's kind of two halves to the picture. One, you can look at gold and precious metals and how they perform and what job they do, but it's also important to understand the other part of the picture, which is what are you giving up and how the banking system works and how paper money works. You've got to look at both. We've done videos before on the how safe your money is in a bank, the different laws that govern what happens if a bank fails, bail-in laws, bailout laws, how the banks can and have in the past taken people's money to prop themselves up. They take your money, they risk it, they make so much money on it, they give you absolutely nothing as far as an interest rate, and then if they take too many risks, they can use your money to prop themselves up, and it's totally legal. It's immoral, but it's legal. And it's out there. You got to know where to look, but there's things like that. Also, buying metals. When we first started, we had no idea. We knew metals were a good idea, but we had no idea the finer detail of how to go about it. You know, we kind of, like any new topic, you don't know what you don't know. We were going in blind. But over years, a lot of research, a lot of making mistakes or doing things not maybe the best way, we've refined the process so that we can say, look, here's the last 7 years of what we've learned about metals for ourselves, because we still buy every 2 weeks for ourselves now. And don't make your own mistakes. Learn from our mistakes and learn the things that you should be asking. The things that, you know, it's kind of, you know, when you ever play a young child on a video game and they say, yeah, come and play with me. And you last like 10 seconds because they've done the journey before and they know there's a bad guy there, there's a bad guy there, there's something there, you jump over that. And they've just done it before. And you take one step forward and it's just over. You know, the screen just goes blank. Well, we've kind of done that journey in precious metals so that we can say to you, look, there's a bad guy there, there's a bad guy there, do this, don't do that. This should be things you should be thinking about. And you don't have to go through that potentially painful process to get the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. It's a good analogy. Yeah.
These are the questions you should be asking. You know, we actually tell people that, Adam, don't we? Sometimes we'll say, well, have you got any more questions? They'll go, no. And we'll say to them, well, you maybe should be asking this, hint, hint. You should be asking this. You should be.
What are some of those things that they should be asking then, James?
Well, who owns the metal? Whose balance sheet is it on when you buy it? That's one of the main ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
do you want to go further into that for people?
Yeah, of course. That's one of the most important things because people have been ripped off in the past, you know. And we only deal with physical metal, which is owned by the customer from day one. It's on their balance sheet, is what I'm saying. It's like when your savings are in a bank in currency, it's on the bank's balance sheet, not theirs, not the customer's.
Yeah. So once they've got it, physically theirs, that's it. It's just like any other item you purchase, and that's it. It's done. Yeah.
And there's many ways of buying metals that you think you own the metals, but you actually don't. And this is when you get into the detail of it. So you can buy something called paper gold, which is like you're betting on the price of gold, but you don't actually own the physical metal at the end of the day. There's other things where you can have unallocated metals where you will pay a company and they will say, yes, you own 10 grams of gold, but you don't know which 10 grams. And they don't actually have to have the metal physically there. They just need to produce that 10 grams as and when you want it. So again, this is all the finer detail. We don't really entertain any of that for ourselves. We say, this is, if we're buying metals, we want to know exactly which metals we're buying. We want to know that they're legally owned by us. They're not sat on any other company's balance sheet. And if any company's disappeared, we still have the metals. They don't take them with them. Very, very important. It's the total opposite to what you do with paper money in a bank. Total opposite.
Do you store yours, Adam, in a paid for vault, or do you have it, somewhere in your own property, or a blend of the two? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a mixture. I would say 95% or more is in the vault. And there's several vaults. They're insured, they're audited. You can see all those audits. They're independently audited. You can see everything about them. There's some major advantages to doing that. Yeah, I want a little bit at home, but the reason for having metals in the first place is to feel more secure. And if you have loads of metals in your home, you start to feel more unsecure because you're leaving the house thinking, well, I've got all this metal stashed at home. I'm now in a worse place than I was. So the reasons we use, we have metal stored in the vault, and it depends how you do it. Again, the devil's in the detail of all this stuff. It's a known entity. So selling the metals back is very easy because they don't need to be tested. There's a track record of what they are, where they've been, and they can be bought back in the blink of an eye. So that's one advantage that people don't always think about. If you've got metals in your home, you have to physically take them somewhere. Someone has to buy them from you, and you have to go through a bit of a process. It's not the worst process, but again, it's something you need to think about at the beginning, not at the end. The other thing is, when you buy silver, in most countries, you pay VAT or sales tax. And it's usually around 20-25% in different countries in Europe and the UK and stuff. And if you have it in your hand, silver, then you have to pay that tax. There's no way of getting around it. If you store it in the right way, in a particular type of vault, it's called actually a bonded warehouse, which is like a vault in a duty-free zone. Think of it like that. Then you don't have to pay that 20%, that 25%. So automatically, just for storing the right place in the right way, you're up by 20-25% from the get-go, which is a huge chunk. And we never knew this.
I'd known this, Tom, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there something to do with the thing of as well with that? I looked into this a little while ago, and they found something about if you get it second-hand, the VAT, is there something, a change with that? If it's second-hand, you don't pay the VAT, or there's a way around that with it, or has that changed, or something popped up on my radar about that a little while ago?
Yeah, so you can buy second-hand silver and you don't pay the VAT on it. The only thing is you're dealing with then a second-hand market. So you've just got to be aware that the resale value of that silver
is less.
Well, yeah, you just got to be aware of that you're not saying compromising at one end, and then at the other end there's a surprise. We just say, look, keep it simple, buy the brand new stuff, and just never pay the VAT. Have it stored,
and that's done through having it stored in the right way in a vault. You don't pay the VAT.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And you talk about that on the some of the links below.
Yeah. Of course. It's
that's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, it can save you literally thousands. It's tax at the end of the day. I always say when you pay the tax, the metal's no shinier. It looks exactly the same. It's just you're paying tax to the government. So, and then
do you have a favourite between gold and silver, or is it just a blend?
In your hands, Tom, by the way.
Sorry, go on, James.
Sorry, Tom. I was saying we're not knocking having some metals in your hands. By the way.
Okay.
You can do it either or, but we just share with people information, our thoughts on both sides. If people ask, I've also got some stashed, not at home but away. I can get my hands on if it ever needed to, but most of it's in the vault where it's secure.
But most of your
portfolio I used to have metals
in the vault.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, I used to have a lot more at home, Tom. Didn't feel secure. I didn't feel secure. I felt like I put my family at risk. I didn't want to leave the house.
Okay.
So
all of these things, they're not right or wrong. It's just going back to that analogy of there's a bad guy there, there's one there, anticipating the journey and knowing what's going to come up. And usually people invest in metals for the long term. So 4 or 5 years plus, 10, 15, 20 years maybe. What you don't want to do is find all this stuff out at the end when there's not much you can do about it. You want to know everything at the beginning so that you can make an informed decision either way. And you say, look, happy to pay the VAT, but at least I know about it.
Yes. Yeah. So you're giving people choices and options. Yeah. So in terms of gold, I mean, you guys are Goldbusters, but obviously silver's there as well, and you've mentioned that. So do you have a preference between the two? What's your kind of split on what you know?
Great question, Tom.
Go on, James. You're a silver
bug. Do you want me to go for that?
Yeah. You tell us.
Yeah, well, I've been a silver bug for a while now, actually, more than gold, haven't I? I started off buying more gold, then I've moved across bit by bit. I've changed my allocations to silver, and that's due to the research I've done in the demand for silver, and actually the amount of silver. From my own research, just what I believe there's actually less silver than what there is gold. I might be wrong, but that's what I believe. And also, there's some big differences, like silver. The uses of silver is just goes through the roof. It's like over 10,000 uses of silver.
There's great utility for it, isn't there?
Oh yeah, massive. And it's used up. It's used up. Whereas whereas gold isn't. The big difference there too. And also we look at the gold silver ratios. So if the gold, I won't go into it too much now because it'll be too much detail.
James, just to pause you there. Let's explain just briefly what the gold silver ratio is before. Just a really brief.
I'll go for it then. Go on.
Yeah, that'd be good. Just go into it.
This is getting to a bit more not advanced, but it's not stuff that you would look at maybe straight away when embarking on this journey. But let us tell you anyway, so you know what you could expect. So people always say to us, well, is gold good at the minute, or is silver good? Is the price good? And we always get to the point where we say, compared to what? What are we comparing it to? Compared to 30 years ago, gold's really expensive. Compared to the next 30 years, it could be the deal of the century. It's hard to have anything to compare it to. So what we do is we compare gold to silver and silver to gold. And what it does is it gives us this comparison that has some, it's kind of relative, because cash is always going to go down over the long term and gold's always going to go up. So you're always going to get this widening of gold to cash ratio, the price. Whereas when you're comparing it gold and silver, you can say, well, actually gold's really cheap now compared to silver. So I'm going to buy more gold than I am silver. Or you could say silver's really cheap compared to gold. So I'm going to buy more silver. And yeah, not to get too much into it, but you can actually move between the metals at certain points. And it's extremely powerful. And it's what we do for ourselves. And it basically makes your investment and turbocharges it. Because you're always buying the better value metals compared to each other. Does that make sense, or have I totally lost you, Tom?
Yeah,
it
makes a lot of sense. So where are we? Sorry, go on, James.
No, you actually create free metals from doing that. You increase your portfolio by doing that. That's the main aim, and that's what you do. It works. Okay.
Yeah. So you're finding the balance and the harmony between the two at any given point.
Yes.
So where are we at right now? What's the better one, silver or gold in the ratio? The
ratio says silver. But
yeah.
Okay.
The ratio today is around
79, is it? Today,
9, yeah. Something like that.
What was that number again, Adam?
79. Mm-hmm.
79 is the ratio, yeah?
Today.
That's what it is today, yeah.
Okay.
So
in favor of silver.
Yeah, so what the ratio is basically saying is if you've got 1 gram of gold, you can buy 79 grams of silver with it.
Okay.
When you have some reference points of what that means, then you'll know that silver's very cheap compared to gold, relatively speaking. At a ratio of, say, 60 to 1, so for 1 gram of gold, you could buy 60 grams of silver. We would say, well, for ourselves, we would buy 50% gold, 50% silver. That's a kind of 60-65 is about the average over the last 10-15 years, something like that. So anything above that, we're looking more on the silver side. Anything below that, we're looking more on the gold side. And you can look up the gold silver ratio and see how it's performed and see how it's moved, and you get a bit of a feel for what these numbers mean. Again, we can go into way more detail.
Good to know that.
Just an idea.
How long has it been in the kind of 79 range, or in a positive direction for silver?
Oh, since about 2013, 14, something like that.
Oh, really? Yeah. So it's not recent then. It's been like that for a while, where it's been
and
pointing towards silver.
When all of this pandemic kicked off,
what he's got to say.
It got up to about 120 nearly.
Yeah.
Right.
So if people bought silver at that point, and then as it's come back down, switch their silver into gold, they would be rubbing their hands together. They would have so much more gold.
Yeah.
Because they've played this ratio. But put simply, Tom, here's how to think about it. Whether it's gold and silver or cash and property, it doesn't make a difference. You're starting with one thing, switching it to something else, and then switching it back. So you buy a house, you've got cash,
Make more.
Switch your cash into property. The property goes up in value. You switch your property back to cash. You've got more cash than you started with. It's the exact same thing, but with gold and silver.
Yeah, got it. It's interesting as well, Adam, that you say that ratio number is 79 right now. 79 is actually, not to confuse people, because that's in the positive direction for silver, as you're saying, but the atomic number for gold is actually 79, which is interesting. And 79 in numbers comes to wonder, comes to super, comes to a few things. But that was, as soon as you said that, I kind of, the way my mind worked, it kind of set, so I thought, it's interesting to mention that as well.
Yeah, sure. So
we still buy gold, don't we, Adam? We still buy it. It's just that just dictates how much of it we buy compared to silver. Silver at the minute is great value for money compared to what gold is. So if it changes the other way, we'll buy more gold, or we'll actually just switch now. We've got this, if any of our customers who have got an account with us, they can switch using their customer account. They can switch between the metals at certain ratios, and we help them with that. We tell them, we'll show them the numbers. We don't tell people what to do, because we don't advise, obviously. We just show people what we do,
I think
the question, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say there's a future question. Maybe we'll do another episode soon, and I wanted to, I guess, something to anticipate for the viewers is thoughts on perhaps if there's a because it's quite well known that historically, recent history, that silver's been suppressed in terms of its price, and if it ever gets changed, what it would come to, and how much that would kind of jump as well. So maybe that's something we can talk about in part 2. But it might be more of an advanced question, but I think it'd be quite interesting for a lot of the viewers, because a lot of them, there's a lot of new people, a lot of in between, but there are some that would really kind of really like to talk about that part, and I'd like to discuss that as well, maybe part 2 with you guys. But
no problem. I think with all of this, we've covered quite a few different topics here, just to give people a flavour of how we help people and what kind of things we discuss. But I always like to boil it down to, well, look, that's great, but what do we do here and now? And I think the first step is just buying some metals in the first place. For a lot of people, it's quite a big cognitive jump from what they're used to doing, which is saving money in a bank, and it's what they've always done, and it feels familiar. Not that it's, we don't think it's necessarily the best option, but it feels familiar, and it's what everybody does. So there's a bit of social proof around it, and it's quite a big jump to then say, I'm not going to save in paper in this bank. I'm going to save in metal that's held in a vault, and it can be a bit a bit unnerving because it's just new. But if you go step by step, start small, you can always increase, and just get comfortable and familiar with it. And we've done this for long enough now that when someone makes that first purchase and they see the bank transfer go and it buys the metals, and they can see exactly which metals they own and all this kind of stuff, they just breathe and go, okay, that kind of wasn't so bad. And then they can increase from there. But step by step, get started, and then all of this other stuff, switching metals and ratios and stuff, you can attack at a later date.
Good stuff. Well, any other concluding thoughts before we wrap it up? I mean, it's been really fun to talk, and I've learned some things and been reminded of some things. One thing I wanted to say as well, as you guys know, I do the numbers, and if you do the name James, it comes to 48. If you spell it out and add it up, comes to my name, Tom, 48. But also Adam comes to 19, which is a power number. Add them together comes to 67, which is reset. And I kind of alluded to that a few moments ago. But also exchange. And what you're talking about is inviting people, informing people, educating people about the possibility of them exchanging their fiat paper currency for precious metals. And you guys, James and Adam, 67, exchange, reset, exchange 67, which is what you're helping people do. And even when James introduced at the beginning, talked about military background. Military comes to 107, which comes to quantum. and it comes to currency as well. So again, that whole thing of exchange of currency, of your paper currency, why not give yourselves a treat and look at the possibility of owning some precious metals, gold and silver. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I think if there is anyone that's listened to this and thinks, oh, do you know what, I'd like, to have my hand held a little bit through this process, then please get in contact with us. Tom, I don't know if you can put a link in the description.
We'll have the link in the description, and people, if you're interested, get in touch with the boys. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we'll hold your hand through the process. We used to speak to everybody in person, but there's that many people now, we just never get to everyone. So we've got different videos and different ways of doing it, but it's still our thoughts and how we can best help you. And depending on which country you're in will depend how we can help you, but we'll explain all of that. And just get in touch and let's just go from there. Let's just start the journey and see where we get to.
We help people as much or as little as what's best for them, what suits them. Some people want lots of help, some people don't. But we've got the systems all set up to deal with that, Tom. So we've been doing it for long enough now. It's the best job in the world, being able to help people, being a better person.
Really is.
It really is.
Yeah,
great.
That's it. Help and learn and grow together. That's it. And do everyone on Site Club, do check out the links. We'll put those in the video description just below. And in closing, you mentioned there, Adam, you said about country. Obviously, there's a lot of people here in the UK, England. I'm wearing deliberately today a golden T-shirt, golden, because we're talking about gold. Gold is 57, which comes to England, which is where we are from. But you guys serve a global population, the US and other countries. I know that. And golden 57 also comes to Tesla. So those that are interested in, in the future and the goodness of mankind and the golden age, it's all there, So, but yeah, it's been a pleasure, lads. It's really good. Look forward to it again.
No, great to meet you, Tom. Great to meet you.
Thanks for having us on, and we'll speak again soon.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Lots of us. Take care. Cheers.
Thank you.
Take
Cheers.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.